Have you heard the breaking news from the German pension system? Something big is coming in 2025, and it's going to affect millions of retirees across the country. The government has decided to introduce a completely new pension supplement, the so-called Rentenzuschlag 2025. But here's the real surprise. Not everyone will get it at the same time. Some pensioners will receive the extra money months earlier than others, and these are the so-called Vorschussrentner. If you're wondering what that means, why they get paid first, and whether you might be one of them, stay tuned, because in this video, we'll break down everything you need to know about the new Rentenzuschlag, who benefits, and how much money is actually involved. Let's start with the background. The year 2025 will mark one of the biggest pension adjustments in recent decades. After months of debates, the government has agreed on new rules designed to balance fairness for current retirees with stability for future generations. At the heart of these changes lies the new Rentenzuschlag, a supplement aimed at compensating those whose pension amounts have lagged behind due to older calculation models or part-time work periods. This decision came after experts raised concerns that many retirees, especially those who retired early or with gaps in their working years, were being left behind. The supplement is meant to close that gap and make sure the pension system reflects the real cost of living in 2025. Now, you might be asking yourself, who exactly are these Vorschussrentner, and why are they getting the money first? The term Vorschussrentner refers to people who are already receiving their pension based on an advance calculation, meaning their pension was processed before all data, earnings, and contribution records were finalized. In simple terms, they started receiving their pension earlier, but their payments were initially based on an estimated amount. Later, once all their insurance and income data was fully verified, the final amount is recalculated, sometimes leading to back payments or small corrections. Und das ist exakt, wer die Rentenzuschlag 2025 kommt ins Play. Since the supplement is calculated based on existing pension data, those who already have their records in the system, the Vorschussrentner, are the first in line. Their pensions are easier to update because their cases are already active in the system. The Deutsche Rentenversicherung doesn't need to process new applications. It simply applies the new rules to existing beneficiaries. So, while millions of retirees will receive the Rentenzuschlag later in the year, Vorschussrentner will see it appear on their accounts first, in some cases as early as spring 2025. But how much money are we actually talking about? The exact amount of the Rentenzuschlag varies depending on individual circumstances. On average, the supplement is expected to range between 3% and 6% of the current pension value, which could mean up to €120 more per month for many pensioners. For those who had longer low-income phases, the bonus could even reach €150 monthly. This may not sound huge, but over a year, that's easily more than one full extra month of pension payments. For retirees with tight budgets, this is a real relief, especially given rising costs for energy, groceries, and healthcare. To make it clearer, let's take an example. Imagine an early retiree, Mr. Schneider, who began receiving his pension in late 2023. His initial pension was based on preliminary data, a typical Vorschuss case. In 2025, once the new Rentenzuschlag takes effect, his file is automatically adjusted. Because his records are already processed, the system applies the supplement immediately. By April or May, Mr. Schneider will see his pension increase automatically, while others who retired later may have to wait until the second half of the year. This system ensures that the rollout happens gradually rather than overwhelming the administration all at once. But it also means that some retirees will have a clear advantage, simply because of timing. And that raises the question of fairness. Is it fair that Vorschussrentner receive their money earlier than others? The Ministry of Labor argues that this approach is purely administrative, not preferential. They say it's not about favoring anyone, but about keeping the process efficient. Updating records of existing retirees is technically easier and faster than recalculating new pensions still being processed. However, many pensioners' associations have already voiced criticism. They claim that the timing could lead to confusion and frustration, especially for those who hear that others are already getting the supplement while their own pension remains unchanged for months. Transparency, they say, will be key. That's why the Deutsche Rentenversicherung plans to send out detailed letters in early 2025 explaining when each retiree can expect their supplement to arrive. These notifications will include the estimated payment date, the new pension amount, and any retroactive payments due. And yes, there will be back payments. For pensioners who are eligible but receive the supplement later in the year, the system will calculate the difference retroactively. So even if you get the payment a few months after their Vorschussrentner, you won't lose a cent. Everything owed will be credited back to the start date of your entitlement. That means that for most pensioners, the first visible increase will appear somewhere between March and July 2025, depending on the administrative schedule. But for Vorschussrentner, the good news is that they'll see the boost first, possibly even in their April payment. Now let's look at what criteria make someone a Vorschussrentner. Typically, it includes people who filed for retirement early and started receiving payments before all income data was finalized. Retirees whose pension applications were processed under preliminary conditions, often due to missing employer data or delayed contribution records. Those receiving a transitional pension, Vorschussrente, pending final approval. If you fit into one of these categories, there's a high chance you'll be among the first to benefit from the 2025 Rentenzuschlag. But don't worry if you're not a Vorschussrentner. Your turn is coming. The rollout is designed so that every eligible retiree receives the full benefit within the same calendar year. By December 2025, all adjustments should be completed. Beyond the supplement itself, the 2025 reform also includes several related measures. The pension value will rise again due to the annual adjustment formula, estimated at around 4.5%, reflecting inflation and wage growth. Together with the new supplement, this means that many retirees could see their total pension increase by over 6% compared to 2024. For someone receiving €1,500 a month, that's roughly €90 more, or more than €1,000 per year, and that's before even counting the Rentenzuschlag. The goal of these combined adjustments is to ensure that retirees don't fall behind the general cost of living. After years of inflation and price hikes, the government hopes to stabilize purchasing power and restore confidence in the pension system. Another interesting detail, the supplement will also apply to certain disability and survivor pensions. Widows, widowers, and disabled persons under the statutory pension insurance may also see increases, depending on their contribution history. Dies macht den Rentenzuschlag 2025 eines der most inclusive Reformen in recent Jahren. Nicht just focused on traditional old age pensions, sondern reaching all categories affected by long-term low earnings or early retirement. However, the reform still faces criticism from opposition parties, who argue that the changes come too late and don't go far enough to offset the real cost of living increases. Some even call it a temporary patch instead of a structural solution. But for pensioners who have struggled with small monthly amounts, even a small raise can make a big difference. Let's not forget, for many seniors, every euro counts. A €100 increase might mean being able to afford better heating, healthier groceries, or a little more freedom each month. So while policymakers debate the technicalities, the impact for everyday people is very real. Now, you may be wondering what you should do to make sure you receive your supplement. The answer is simple: nothing. Subscribe to the channel for more updates about pension reforms, financial tips, and the latest government decisions affecting retirees in Germany. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, stay informed, and see you in the next video.